Chad Aichs, Courage Barbell, issue episode 2. Today, we get to talk about Chad Aichs. And as much as you would think I would be excited about that, I'm really not. Self-promotion is definitely something I need to work more on. Even in my regular life, I don't often talk about myself. Even like people will bring up my size or see how big I am and ask how much I bench press. Almost nobody ever asks how much I can squat. And I usually try to avoid it. Sometimes I'll talk about it. I don't bring it up very often. A lot of times I'll be out with friends and my friends will bring it up, but I won't. And then I kind of feel obligated to talk about it at that point. But one of the things I've always preached is there's a lot of coaches out there that they're skinny little dudes and they have some kind of degree. And why on earth would I listen to that person? If strength is such a big thing that you want to dedicate your life to it, well then why aren't you strong? And let me correct one thing though. I do know smaller guys, but they compete and they lift a lot for their size. But you know, it's going to be hard for me to go to somebody who benches 200 pounds to tell me how to bench 800. I would pretty much just laugh at them. You know, or somebody who's little, but they bench a shit ton of weight. Maybe I would listen to that. They don't necessarily have to be big, but like, why didn't you put in some numbers? Or, you know, if you are a great coach, who have you coached? Like, what guys have you helped put up huge numbers? And so as I said in the first video, like I hit my peak in 2007, 8, 9, something like that. And those that know, and if you don't know, go to Courage-Unlimited, and there's some videos in there where I talk about some of the depression and suicide, like some deep personal stuff that I've dealt with. But I hit a point at that top level because I didn't really know enough about managing that stuff at the time. It got really bad, and I needed to stop competing. And I needed to take care of that stuff if I wanted to remain on this planet. And I did that. I made some promises to family and friends, and promise is a big thing to me. So I stuck to it, and I made some changes. During that time, I never considered myself Chad the powerlifter. I was Chad that is a good powerlifter, but he's also a bunch of other stuff. So ending my stepping away from social media and all that stuff was not a big deal for me. But I did do that. And in powerlifting, you very quickly get forgotten. Probably any strength sports, you get forgotten pretty quick. So the reason I'm doing this and trying to promote it is that I did back away from that. And you might not necessarily know who I am. I mean, I don't know why you would anyway. It was a different time back then too. There wasn't the social media. There wasn't Instagram as much. I think we had Facebook, but it wasn't as readily available as it is now to see lifts and meets that are streaming and that kind of stuff. You had a couple magazines you looked through or went to federations' websites. So I think it's important for you to know what I've accomplished so that you can have some faith in what I teach. I basically was a high school football player, and I ended up quitting football because I decided it was going to be hard to find a team that wanted to win as much as I did, and who wanted to dedicate themselves as much as I did. So, but I did still throw the shot put for 4 years. I mean, I actually played football I quit my senior year, halfway through my senior year. I threw the shot put at the collegiate level for a few years. I ended up having chronic compartment syndrome, which we finally figured out what it was, had surgery, basically said, Chad, you have to stop doing this or you could lose your legs. So I had to stop, which was a horrible thing for me because all I've ever really wanted to be my whole life was a professional athlete. Floundered around for a few years, continued to lift because I love lifting. I've never stopped lifting. It just, the intensity and my goals changed. Found powerlifting at the age of 27 and was basically talked into doing my first meet at 2 weeks notice, which was a bench press competition. And I either benched 405 or 415. Not really sure. What I did, that it was so great to compete again. It was amazing to compete again. I met a good friend of mine there named Cyril Lewis, who was huge, and he took first place with like 5 something. I took second place with 405 or 415, whatever it was, and that was a raw bench. I didn't even know what a shirt was at the time, and he was a huge, massive guy, and I remember thinking, man, I want to look like that. I actually told my mom, I'm like, Mom, you see that guy? I want to look like that guy. And I'm very close to my mom, by the way. Then I had some moves. I was living out in Elko, Nevada, which is a small town on the east side of Nevada. I ended up moving back, got some night jobs. I ended up getting a job at the jail. I was just a booking clerk. And decided that experience powerlifting was a blast, and I wanted to do this, and I had a pretty good concept that I could be pretty good at it. So I told my job, I said, listen, here's the deal. I'm planning this meet, so I need this time off. And they're like, no, that's after shift change. We can't be sure. And I said, well, I can be sure. And I can tell you right now that on these days, I won't be here. I ended up getting a call from my old boss who begged me to come back. And I made a deal with him that I was going to do this powerlifting. I needed to be off at these times to train. I had started a team, and I had responsibilities, and I would always give him a certain amount of notice for meets, and he had to give me that time off if it was for a competition. He agreed to all that. So I went back to work there and started. It was pretty quick after that I decided I did not know enough and started researching and found Dave Tate and Elite Fitness. Right before that, I did my first meet in a total of 1,700. I ended up totaling 2733 was my best total. On my way up, I broke all the amateur drug-free records. Actually, a lot of those records were set pretty low, and I thought that they needed to be more respectable. I did my first drug-free 1,000-pound squat, lifetime drug-free 1,000-pound squat, to the amazement of a lot of people. People on the forums were saying that it's impossible. I couldn't be drug-free. My partners were pissed because they knew that I was drug-free, but in my mind, it's like, well, you said it's not possible to do it drug-free, and I did it drug-free. So you said I did something that's impossible. Thank you. That's a compliment. Ended up totaling 2,400 drug-free, and then we found out I had low tests, so I went on tests, and at that point, I'm like, well, if I'm going on tests, I'm not going to do any more drug-free meets, and I might as well start playing with this stuff, because despite all of my knowledge about that, what I learned was incorrect. I learned more from actually being around it and in it. But anyway, I broke all the drug-free records. I think I totaled, I actually stopped competing drug-free all the time because I had no competition. So I would spend a year trying to up the drug-free records, and the next year I would compete in all non-tested federations. And then I would go back and then flip-flop back and forth. I think my highest actual tested competition was at 3670 or something like that. I did total over 24 drug-free though. And then in my first professional meet, which was the WPO, I broke the full meet bench press world record. I opened with an 1,100-pound squat, which was the highest squat opener of all time. And a lot of people didn't know who I was, so it was pretty funny watching people look at the flight list going, who the hell is this guy? What the hell does this guy think he's doing? I did get loose on the first one and came back and obliterated it on the second one, to the point where it surprised me how fast I came up. Over this time, I had some of the highest openers in history. I've had some of the biggest lifts in history. I just missed the world record squat based on depth. But it was close, and I stood up with it, no problem. That was near the time that I needed to stop. My last meet, I was going to open with 1250, and for the first time in my life, I went out and picked it up and told them to re-rack it because I just didn't feel like lifting, and that blew my mind. My depression and everything was so bad at that point. I didn't feel like lifting, and I wasn't going to risk spotters you know, you shouldn't be doing 1,250 pounds if you don't feel like lifting. Uh, and I went to bench only for a while. I tried doing just bench only because it's just easier on your body. I got over 900 pounds. My last meet, I was going to open with 900, and we were hitting. I hit it in the gym. Went to hit it in the gym and tore the shit out of my tricep. So I never got to go officially over 900. I also went into the World of Highland Games. I did not make it to the pro level, but in just doing 4 or 5 competitions, I was a pretty high-ranked A, and did pretty well with that, and had a lot of fun doing it too. I will throw more in time. Since then, I have, in trying to actually get my depression and the suicidal stuff and get everything under control, I backed off of my heavy lifting. And at one point, my strength was, I got down to where I couldn't bench 315 raw, and I couldn't squat 500 raw. And that was pathetic to me, like absolutely pathetic. And I hated it, but I had to do it. And so now we're building back up, and I'm going to be 50 years old, probably. I don't know what I could total right now because I haven't really tested any of my lifts. But my strength is growing back. I'd like to maybe do some masters meets, do like a 2 grand raw or some shit like that. We'll see in the coming years. And if I can get this project rolling and get away from doing granite and beating myself up every day, it'll definitely help with my strength. And I'll be able to train a little more consistently without so much injuries and pain. But all in all, I'm in really good shape. I was kind of known for being a technician. I have great hips. I have great back, great knees, great shoulders. I mean, all my issues are torn muscles, or just because my sleep sucks, I overtrain and I beat myself up, which leaves me sore a lot. But other than that, like, all my joints are great. I have no real issues. I managed to bench and lift some heavy numbers, which I guess I didn't mention. My best official squat is 1173. My best official bench is 821. My best official deadlift is 755. And I know that's low, I admit it. But most of my heavy years, I was dealing with a hip injury. And even if you go back and watch a lot of the videos, I was in pain every time I pulled. I never did a competition once I got big where I didn't hurt by the time I was deadlifting. So my best total was 2733. As I said, my first total was 1700. It took me 10 years to break 27. And so I consistently, and I've went over it and tracked it, I consistently put 100 pounds on my total average. And it basically really worked out to like a meet would be like 100 pounds every year, which is pretty impressive. I think most people would love to put 100 pounds on their total every year, especially for that amount of time. And I don't think I did all this with severe depression, with severe sleep problems. I've actually competed being awake for 9 days. The longest I've ever went without sleep is close to 14. I regularly would be up for 2 or 3 days at a time and still got in all my training. So what could I have done if I could have actually slept good? Who knows? I mean, I had what I had. We all have what we have to deal with, and we do the best we can. And in the end, I put up good numbers. So what I dealt with doesn't really make any difference, except sometimes it's fun to think, damn, if I could have recovered, man. Yeah, so that's it. I mean, I've written for Elite FTS for, I don't even know now, 10 plus years, maybe 15 years. I've written hundreds of articles. I've written for a couple of the bigger bodybuilding and strength magazines out there. I've been putting videos out for years. I've done tons of seminars. I've coached a lot of people. I've helped a lot of people that are really successful lifters now. I've never actually, I've only trained people kind of on the side. I've helped some people on the internet. I don't really prefer training people that way, but seeing some of the people, the trainers that we have that train people in person, and they're so horrible, I can do a better job over the internet than they can in person. I've helped a lot of different people through seminars and stuff. I'm just now getting into trying to make a living through training and working with clients more regular. And the clients that I have now are making huge gains. But I'm not one of those guys that jumps you in quick. You know, I want to build you slow for the long haul. I'm not looking for that quick gain. So you go, oh, Chad's awesome coach. He put 50 pounds on my bench, but now over the next 10 years, I'm not going to gain anything. I want to build you up so you're putting up big numbers. And yeah, that's about it. I mean, I think my credentials speak for themselves. I think you can talk to many other top lifters out there that remember me and will have good things to say about me. You know, I'm still to this day, I'm visiting people that I know. I'm still going to seminars. I'm still trying to learn. I'm still staying up with what the new advancements in training are. And trust me, over the past 5 to 10 years, the advancements in training and technique and the tools that we have, such as this Kabuki bar, continue to expand. And even though I'm not trying to compete at the world-class level and be the best in the world anymore, I want my training to be as efficient as possible. I want to be as strong as I can be with the time that I have to train, which I think is very important. And this video is running long again. I apparently, for someone who doesn't talk much, I'm apparently a long-winded person. So I'm going to stop this one right now. I think I got my point across. I think you guys know that I'm not speaking out of my ass. I've actually done it. I've actually been there. I was looking up the other day that I'm still in the top 10 on my total all time in history, and that's some 13 to 15 years later. When I put my squat, my biggest squat up, it was fourth biggest squat in history. I had the highest 3-lift bench in history. I've been ranked as high as number 2 in the world. In Powerlifting USA, I hit number 2. In my day, I was up there. I was competing into the best of the best. It was a great time. You know, I was competing against guys like Donnie Thompson and Andy Bolton, competing with Chuck Vogelpool, Steve Goggins, just this huge list of all these amazing lifters. And it was a great time in powerlifting, and I'm proud as hell that I was able to compete in it with those guys. Okay, that's it. Cut. I'm out of here. I'll see you guys next time. Please like the channel, subscribe to the channel, check out my Instagram, Chad Aichs. Check out Courage Unlimited, and I will talk to you guys later with some more good information, and we'll try to start getting some training videos. All right, guys, out.